Politics is somewhat religious, and where there's religion, there's occultism. And it all boils down to symbolism. You cannot go into any of the houses of Parliament. You cannot go into the White House. You cannot go into the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. and not see in undecipherable symbolism, unless you have the keys of decipherment. And so, but what you're talking about is simple regression. You know, it's all understandable only in terms of psychological dynamics. It's the love-hate with the father figure. You know, and again, we can talk about this without saying we like Donald Trump or don't like him or like any kind of politics or don't like it. These are just phenomena, right? And that's one has to see it. Phenomena. He represents a certain father archetype that is both loved and needed, but also despised and hated. And what I reiterate again, that because it has now become literally voodoo, right, in the streets of New York, that shows you just how atavistic the people that we have to deal with on every day on, you know, Facebook or wherever, the people like ourselves, this is the kind of level you're having to deal with. And it could get even worse, you see. So it's just indicative of the kind of regression, this classic Freudian regression, when years and years of watching this garbage on the media, turning your brain to pulp, years and years of watching Industrial Light and Magic, right? Living in a simulacral world of the movies, of advertisements, of sitcoms, of soap operas, of love scenes. You know, your brain is no longer in touch with reality. You know, maybe we'll even get to that later about, you know, how religion and other things have really cut us off. The Christian calendar is actually part of the reason why we don't live in nature anymore. You know, that we're incarcerated in cities. So maybe we can pause there and then, you know, get into the meat of this this concept of the priesthood of the Aeles. I think we had to spend a lot of time on the opening because it's very important to put this particular thesis in context. Otherwise, just plunging into the material, I think would be rather disorientating to people, actually. So it's good that we spent this first hour to summarize and give a very healthy overview what we're dealing with. And now we can get into the more nitty-gritty of it. But it has enormous consequences because, as they say, people are 3 meals away from revolution. Well, people are already 4 meals away from the jungle, from complete regression to the animalistic level. In fact, these Podestas and some of these other people, they're actually already there. Half the people who do these sadistic things, you see, and this includes clergy, and all these other boogaloo cults, and maybe even nobility, some of the royals, right, whatever. But they're already down at the animalistic level. Right, you see the Dracula movie. The guys are around there eating cockroaches and right, eating worms for the blood, sucking flies or whatever. Yeah, because once you may look human, but once you've lost your humanity, there is no bottom to where you can go. Hell is the bottomless, moralless, vacuous human. But what people need to realize is, how does that degeneration happen? It doesn't happen overnight. This is mass schizophrenia. This is mass hysteria, right? And it happens incrementally. Boil the frog. And so if you want to be immune to the evils of the world, you've got to know how those evils come into existence. So we tried to define truth earlier as a form of history and knowledge of history. Truth can also be defined as the ability to make yourself immune by studying the anatomy of a thing. Studying it deeply is what truth is. But truth is difficult because truth means that in order to study anything, especially an aberrant thing, to its roots, means that you have to do that despite the cost. So truth comes with a price. If you try to study something to its origin, like world crime, pestilence, mind control, it's not going to be easy. So truth involves guts, bravado, which most of the people in the world don't have. We've talked in other, podcasts about why they don't have it. So they're not in touch with their bodies where the reservoir of energy is. Right? They're just going off the stimuli of the world. That's not enough. You won't get to the garden gate with that. So truth is a process of uncovering untruth. But my God, what does that take? So, you and I are delivering it for people. They can take it or fucking leave it. But that's what it is. It's a process of uncovering that which is not true. And my message to most of people is think twice before you start on that process. Because it's going to alienate you from everyone. It's going to, bring to you great revelations, but it's going to be a road of thorns. So truth is about, can you make the decision to continue going to the root of a thing? Because it's not going to be easy, the foundations of a thing, to gain that understanding. Because if you don't, then you'll never, first of all, you won't get there, and you may end up becoming even worse than the people in the lie, because at least, they never even set out on the journey. They were content with the bread and circuses. If you actually set off to learn the origin of a thing, the origin of evil, or whatever, it's not going to be easy. So truth is one of the greatest masters, but it's also one of the greatest taskmasters. And it will utterly, utterly, utterly change your life and your perspective on world events.